All right, the assignment that was due today, you were supposed to look at the traffic and kind of give me an idea what it was, what type of attack was it. Okay, this is your actual traffic. Okay, I brought it up, and there is a lot of ICMP traffic. That's because I had to keep traffic going, and that's the easiest way for me to keep it going. So it wasn't a flood or anything. It was just, that was normal ping traffic. Now, a couple different ways you can do this. You can sort by ICMP. Then if you actually go down here, come on, actually you can sort by this right here, I think, yeah. And it'll even tell you. Well, does it not tell you in this version?
In ARP it does.
No, it should right here as well.
That's what I found mine. It was so obvious about it.
Why isn't it showing up in this though?
Look at packet 130.
This might be a different version too.
You want to filter source IP address by 10.10.50.22, not destination.
Oh, that's why. That's why. Let's go back to. There it is. Well, it should still be there. Why isn't it popping up with that deal on the right?
You're talking about the duplicate?
Yeah, where it says duplicate.
That's when you filter by ARP.
Oh, I thought it was ICMP.
No, so ICMP, you gotta like go through and look at
Oh,
the source
duh,
and
okay.
destination, and look-
My fault. Sorry. Yes, I wasn't thinking. All right, if you do that, it'll actually pop up and tell you by ARP that, hey, this IP address now has two different MAC addresses. There's something wrong. Okay? So if you actually sort by the source here now, and you go up to, it was Dell something. Yeah, you can actually see it in here. You see it was a Dell and a Cisco. So there's something with Dell and Cisco right here. Okay? Now, if you clear this, and if you just sort by source on, where is the IP? Here it is. You sort by this here, and like say we picked 164 right here, okay? If you look at this bottom pane, you'll see right here it says Cisco. Now if I go to the next 164, it's still Cisco. Next one, it's still Cisco. But if you do this, you'll see it's going to change.
137.
There it is. Now it's Dell. So there it was Cisco, there it's Dell. So it's the same IP address. You notice the destination is still the same IP address, yet the destination MAC address has changed. You can do the same thing for 75. You know, there's 75 with a Dell. Well, okay. There it is with the Cisco. There it is with the Dell. So all you had to tell me was, hey, the MAC address keeps changing. If you look at this packet and this packet, you'll see same IP addresses, different MAC addresses. Now that was an ARP spoof, or ARP poisoning attack. If the IPs had changed, that would have been an IP attack, but it was really the ARP that was changing. I did it with Kane. I did ARP poisoning through Kane, and I turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. That's why it kept changing. So it kept pinging just fine, but one time it was actually being routed through my machine. Okay, so that's what the assignment was. Okay, some of you get that? A couple of you? Most of you? All of you? Hopefully? Good?
I might have a whole different way though.
All right, now let's talk about chapter 8. Actually, just put the slides up a little bit ago because I'm not going to cover everything in this chapter in great gory detail, but I'm going to cover some of it. Okay? Because some of this would have been helpful for the last assignment, but you knew enough to solve the last assignment. So let's talk about some session hijacking stuff. Okay? Basically, want to get in between you. Think of it, you know, me and Andy are talking. You want to get between the conversation. That's what we're really talking about. Okay? It says can be hijacked only after they've been authenticated. So I call Andy, then you start listening in on it. I was what's the guy took for Jay Leno? Jimmy Fallon. Y'all see some of his videos of like the one today I watched today was the Russian guy. President, what's his name? Who did it? It was Putin and Palin. Did y'all see that one? Where he has, you know, basically, we happened to capture the conversation between Putin and Palin, and right in the middle, like, I hear someone breathing. Then they zoom in on, you know, Barack listening in on it. So basically, he was in the middle of the conversation. But I just think some of it was hilarious. It was pretty good. But Same thing here. Okay. Could have happened with phones. Way back, this is probably early 90s. Remember a friend of mine who actually ended up getting a job out at Area 51 in Vegas. He said he would show up to work, get on a helicopter, come back 3 days later. Never tell me what the heck happened. Sucked. I never knew a thing about his job. But he came, it was before he got that job. He actually came and was in Oklahoma for a while. And he bought an old scanner. Remember when you could listen in on people wireless phones or home wireless phones? We used to just drive through base housing and it was like everybody, same kind of thing. We were listening. We weren't really getting in the middle of it, but we were listening in on it. So it doesn't work so well anymore. But okay. I think this picture sucks. Okay, I put the 6. But basically, it says boy meets girl, they date, they get wed, and then Uncle Billy moves in. I don't know if that's really TCP. That would be, Uncle Billy would have to be between the girl and boy. I mean, they're mother-in-law, okay, that'll be better. But I was like, Uncle Billy moves in? I didn't like the picture, but I left it there. All right. It says TCP works with IP. Okay, we really don't do. It doesn't really care about MAC addresses. That's why I was able to do that attack, because internally it works off of MAC addresses. TCP really works off IP addresses. So I was still pinging the same IP, except the MAC was different. Okay, they track the packages sent to the receiver. Okay, and you can do source routing, which I actually added quite a few slides on that. If it turned off, they can do blind hijacking, but I'm going to show you a little bit about source routing. I made some slides here today, so I can tell my pictures are actually in color instead of these. Okay, a couple different ways to do source routing. And we had mentioned it before, but I don't know how well people understood it. There's something called loose, and the first, basically loose says, I want to go from A to B. Okay? I want to go from here to Choctaw. I'm not really specifying how to get there, but I need to go from here to Choctaw, A to B. I could go multiple different ways. That's loose source routing. You're going to go there. It's not really going to tell you the entire way. And I could even say, go through router 1. Or I can even say, go through router 1 and router 2. So I could say, get to B, going through router 1 and router 2. So if I said that, the traffic could go through 1 and 2, 3, 4 and B, or it could actually go 1 and 2, back to 1 and then to 4. So in other words, I can specify part of it. So I can say to get to Choctaw, you must take Adair to 29th Street to I-40. Did I specify the entire trip? No. I told you just a portion of it. How do I know you're not going to exit at Douglas and go down to 59th Street? Okay, that's loose source routing. Okay, strict source routing is when I tell you the exact way to get there. Adair to 29, to Air Depot, to I-40, I-40 to Choctaw Road, so on and so forth. That's where I tell you the entire trip. Okay? No questions about it. Not a really, see any problems with it? Well, remember when I-40 bridge went out a few years back when the boat hit the bridge? Can you imagine if we were using strict source routing to get to Arkansas? And it said I-40 East. The bridge was gone. The road was literally gone. So how could you have gotten there? So that's why it's not a good plan. The nice thing about the internet is if something fails, you can go around another way. But if we strict source routing, you're not given that option. You're basically saying you are going this way, and that's all there is to it. Okay? Some malicious use with strict routing. What if someone got in and started saying, hey, you know what? To get from A to B, you must go R1, hacker, R2B. To get backwards, you go R2, hacker, R1B. You can actually specify where the packet's going, and it can go through an alternate source or another host or another route. So when I did that ARP poisoning attack, that's pretty much what I was doing. We were telling the machines, go through me first, and then out to the gateway. Okay, it's pretty much what source routing is. Kind of got the idea? Okay, hopefully it's a little better, because I don't think I've ever explained it quite that well today. Had to find me a picture of a router on the internet. That's pretty good, it worked. So. All right, a lot of these pictures kind of suck. But denial of service. If you look, some of you actually, that project you just did, some of you thought I was doing denial of service because of all the payments. Okay? That's not really denial of service. denial service is hundreds of thousands of those, where someone using HPing3 and doing 40,000 packets per second from each host, and there's thousands of hosts. So a few pings. I covered denial service when I was teaching for Cyber Patriot 2 years ago. I covered each year, but 2 years ago I talked about it, and I said it was kind of like for every machine in room 221, we have like 30 computers. What's pinging me? I said, well, actually, that really wouldn't be enough traffic because our network cards can handle quite a bit of traffic. But if we had thousands of people doing that, it would take me offline. But I had all these high school students in there, and they were writing these little scripts to get 20 pings going at the same time. And they were setting the ping size so it's the largest available. Then they were running it on each machine. And they were like, you see them all, they're smiling. I'm like, ha, ha, ha. It never worked. It never took mine offline. Because you need to be taught economy of scale. You got to have lots of them. You can't just have 5 machines. It's not going to do it. You can't just have 10 machines. You got to have thousands and thousands of machines.
Is it more of a man in the middle of that? What you were going to do?
Well, they were trying to do denial service because they were just pinging the heck out of me. What did ping? I say I was pinging you.
Your home was the homework more of a man.
Right, it was more the man in the middle. Yes, kind of correct. But a normal ping is annoyance. It's like someone keeps calling you and they won't stop calling you. So you can't use the phone because someone keeps calling you. That kind of stuff. Okay. All right. Okay. Hacker's point of view is the hacker could find problems for 2 reasons. What if I'm breaking into a machine and taking over its traffic, but it's still sending packets? Maybe some of the packets are going to get through. Maybe they didn't anesthetize it quite as well. Okay. There's also the acknowledgements packets, which we're going to see here in a second. Okay. So these pictures are still not the best, but every time you send a packet, there's an acknowledgement. Okay. There's that whole 3-way handshake, SYN, SYNAC, and an ACK. Okay. So they can actually capture those, and you can possibly get in the middle of them. Again, so the packet pictures is not the best. Okay. They keep sending SYNs without the ACKs, and said it doesn't really. What they're trying to get here is a SYN. Remember, the 3-way handshake is a SYN, which is ever synchronized. Then you reply with a synchronized acknowledgement. Then I reply back with acknowledgement. If I keep sending you a bunch of SYNs, that's me keep calling you. And you answer the phone, but I don't talk to you. So you're like, hello, hello, are you there? So the guy at the bottom here keeps calling him. He called him 3 times. So this victim up here, he received 3 calls from that guy and 3 calls from me, and this guy's answering him, so they're communicating. But I just keep calling. It's like the darn phone that keeps ringing, but when you pick it up, no one's there. So it's just tying your resources, all it's doing. And I think I covered at the beginning of the semester, didn't we talk about the TCP timeout is like 10 minutes for established connections, like 75. It's just great. You can change all that. I think I covered that in one of the lectures. Okay. So this can get quite annoying if there's tons of these going on. Okay. All right. The acknowledgement packet, they can actually capture those. They can stop those. And what happens if you don't receive an acknowledgement? So what if I send you a packet and you don't acknowledge the receipt? Well, maybe you send it again. Or I'm going to send you whichever way we're doing here. So it could cause an issue. Could also cause us to resynchronize. I ordered a new polar heart rate sensor. You all know what those are? You wear it and it transmits your heart rate to like the machines in the gym. Okay, I've had one actually I got a watch that even synchronizes with it. Mine's old. It's probably 8 years old and it's getting intermittent. So I ordered a new one today. Well, the new one's got Bluetooth and everything in the world. But there's an issue with it. They say every now and then when the battery dies, you have to resynchronize it with the system. Same kind of thing here. Sometimes you lose the connections and you get resynchronize, and so if you're breaking into it, maybe you have to start all over again. It could be a lot more work. So, okay. Says packet blocking. You can actually block some packets. Way back when we had someone. When I worked at that ISP downtown, Keytech Internet, someone was doing denial of service against one of our clients. I think I told you about that at the beginning of the semester, but they were hitting it with tons of traffic. So we called Cox, and they came out like 2 or 3 in the morning and ended up blocking like 16 Class C networks just so we could get some work done. So we could block packets. Okay, and I always thought it was funny because people always complain about Cox's service. You know, when you have a business customer, I've never had a problem with Cox. I mean, you could call them at 2 in the morning, and they're literally at your house in 30 minutes. You pay for it. You pay lots of money for it. I guess a normal. They won't ever have to call them for their house. I never have to call them.
I had a call, they're not bad.
Okay, I guess my area is all brand new everything. Well, you brand new lines. I guess that's why. Right? Other than upgrading to faster speed, I didn't talk to the guys. Oh, and canceling TV. That's the only time I ever call them. So, all right. So the ACA storm, it says because the attacker is not in a place to stop or delete packets sent by a trusted command. So there could be a lot of acknowledgments. It's seeing packets coming in, it's trying to acknowledge, and it just can't always do something with it, okay? All right. And here's packet blocking. We have a bunch of packets that the hacker's dropping because the machines are trying to talk, and it basically is stopping them, okay? Again, I don't particularly like the pictures in this one. Actually, I don't like any of the pictures in this one. But it's trying to get in the middle of it and send the packets on its own. It sucks. Sorry, I just didn't redraw all of them. Okay? We can also wait for the knowledge packet to drop. In other words, it never made it here. I covered all the assignment too. Last week's assignment. I did. I actually explained it on the recording this time.
You did?
Yes, I did. Explained the whole thing. So you got to watch it.
Okay, I'm feeling Byron.
All right, so if the attacker can block packets, they can drop the exact number. If you know how many packets are, say, me and Andy are talking, if you knew exactly what me and Andy were doing, you could actually capture and block certain ones and take their place and replace them with your own packets. It's just not the easiest thing in the world to do. A couple ways they talk about doing is routing table modification. When I did that project, the one you just turned in, I really edited the ARP table. Did I show you an ARP? I showed you an ARP table before, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. What I was doing was I contacted the machine and I changed its ARP table. I said, hey, this IP is really over here. Well, you can do the same with a regular routing table, okay? Now they talk about how all machines have a routing table. I actually got a picture of one here. I'll show you. It shows how to get there. There's two sections. There's static and then there's active connections, which I'm going to show you both of them. And it tries to match a specific route, and if it can't, it goes to default, which I'm going to show you. Okay, there's the Linux one. I'm going to show you the Windows. This is also my Windows one. This is a little bit easier to understand. Most of you have probably, this is actually off of my work machine. I type the command route print at the top. You can also do netstat-r and it'll do the same thing. They both get the same command. Okay, but what this is telling it is under the active routes, it's telling how to get somewhere. The first line basically says the destination is all zeros. So what do you think that means? Basically says anywhere. If you don't know where to send it here. It's kind of like the default route. You know, have your default route or your gateway? That's it. It says my default route is 10.60.1.1. Actually, let's look at this machine here and see what this machine has. Actually, let me get my IP, see what my route is. Okay, my default gateway is 10.50.1.1. So that very first line should say all zeros, and then 50.1 should be that. Okay. Okay, so the very top line right here is 10.50.1.1, which matches, well, I scrolled over, there it is, which matches my default gateway right here. So if you're sending something, and you don't know where to send it over there. It's kind of like the last resort. Okay? Well, how do I get there? Well, I go through this network card. And that should be me. Let's look. 10.50.200.166 is where it says go to. So it says to get to the gateway, go through your network card. Make sense? So if I don't, send everything to the gateway through the network card. Okay? Now the metrics, it's the number of hops to get there. How far away is it? The lower the number of hops, the closer it is. Makes sense. Starts at 20. Okay, you can actually specify that. When you add routes to this, you can specify the hop count. You can say this one's 19 or this one's 5. And if all routes were the same, it would then go to the lower number. Okay. Now, this next one says if you want to get to the 10.50 network, this is the network ID right here. So, the 10.50 network with this subnet mask, go to the same network card. Because I'm on it. I am the 10.50 network, so it says you're on it. So basically it's on your link already, you're already there. Okay. If you want to get to 10.50.200.166, Well, that's me. A lot of people think that's stupid. Why would you have to tell it? Well, because the machine's stupid. It needs to know. It's basically saying, hey, what's my IP address? What's my name? Host name. The command host name is how the computer returns its own host name. So if you ever want, machines don't know, so they have to ask, what's my name? What's my IP address? Same kind of thing. How do I get to myself? Oh, that's it. You're already there. That's basically what it's saying. Okay. And same with the 127. It's the same thing. 127 is loopback. That's me as well. So, but yeah, and a lot of other stuff like 224. That's multi-link stuff. That's like broadcast type traffic. So you don't need to worry about that as much. But this routing table tells us how to get there. If we were to edit this routing table, like when I took care of the network at, now is the Cox Convention Center still? Is it called that? When I took care of their network. I think, did I tell you the story about them? I'll make it short. Their network was out of Philadelphia. I think it was Philadelphia. And they had an ISDN line, 128K, very slow. All their traffic went there. Well, that was back when it was called the Marriott. All remember it was called the Marriott? Well, when Cox came in, Cox says, hey, put our name in the building, get free internet. Kind of a good deal. Free high-speed internet. The problem was everything had to go through the ISDN line to Philadelphia. So when I took care of the network, they paid me $500 a month. Ooh. And I gave them limited support. Because they could do most things, but things they couldn't figure out. So they called me and they're like, okay, we got this brand new fiber line. I don't know what the speed was, but it was a lot faster. Yet everything's still going through Philadelphia. What do we do? And what the guy said was, well, I changed our gateways to point to Cox. That's great. But all the financials, all the ticketing, all the booking, everything had to go to Philadelphia through the ISDN line because it was internal network. So what they had to do is change the gateway to Philadelphia, do the financial stuff, change their gateway back to Cox, surf the internet, change the gateway back to Philadelphia to sell a ticket. I mean, you can imagine how that sucked because you could only have one gateway. This actually went on for quite a while. And back then, this is quite a few years ago, you actually required a reboot on every time you changed in the gateway. Now you can actually change it without a reboot. But can you imagine? Oh, we got to look up something on the internet. Hold on a second. Change your gateway. Reboot your machine. Okay, I got it. Okay, change your gateway. Reboot. Connect to Philadelphia and do the front end. It sucked. So what we did was we went into the routing table and said, okay, everything goes to Cox. Okay, is their default gateway. But when you're connecting to the specific 172.16. Whatever the heck their IP is, when you're connecting to a specific network, kind of like we're saying right here when you're connecting to this 10.50, we said when you want to connect to this specific place, we didn't say go through our own network card. We basically said go to the ISDN router. So everything went through Cox, with the exception of one network went over there. And the funny thing was when we contacted Cox, they said it can't be done. We contacted SNG, which is the company, and they're like, you can't do it. You have to point to us. Like, there's got to be a way. And I asked, well, can't we just do an alternate route? And no, you can't. It won't work. Even Cox is like, you can't. Cox said, you just got to point at us. But then you can't get to their network. And I said, no. So we ended up adding a secondary route. It worked like a champ. They were thrilled to death. It literally took 2 minutes to implement and 3 weeks to figure out how to implement because no one will let us. It was like, no, I didn't do it on the individual PCs. I actually did it on the router, going outbound router, because it would suck to have to do it on each PC. So what I did is on the actual router, on the Cox router itself, I said everything goes out, but when you see traffic destined for this one place, just send it back over there. So I said everybody goes through this door here, but when you get a packet looking for the 172 network, send it through that door. It worked like a champ. They were thrilled to death ever since. So that's kind of what a hacker would do. Hey, when you see traffic going for a specific bank, go over here instead. That's what you could do. Okay? All right, so that's a routing table. Now, I did that with route print. You can also do net stat NET-STAT-R, give you the same thing. Okay? Now, in the bottom here, you actually see the active routes are set up, but there's also the persistent routes. If you were to add a route yourself, it will be under persistent routes. Okay? Top stuff is built dynamically. The bottom stuff under persistent, we actually had one in our office for a while, but now we got the new vSphere, we got rid of it. We had a persistent route because we were connected to two at the same time. Okay? So that's kind of how you read that table. It's the same thing. Instead of the 50 network, this is the 60 network. And no persistence routes on that one either. Okay. All right, modifying it. So after its match is found, it goes to whatever interface, like on the right-hand side where it had my network card. Okay. The active connections show up at the bottom, which it didn't show any, so I got a better picture, which is better than this. It's right here. You can do this with Netstat as well. This is the current active connections from my PC. There's a couple different ways to see this. So I brought this up. Actually, let me do it on this machine here so we can see what's happening right now. Take Netstat by itself. It'll show you the current active connections. Now, I know connections to the outside world. But let's try something. Okay, let's go there. Oops. It's still not showing. Why isn't it showing it? I was hoping it would show the actual connection. That's not going to show it. Darn it. Okay, I was hoping it would. But this will show the active connections. Oh, it did. There it is. It's at the bottom. Okay. Just took a minute. Okay. What it is so there's a connection between me on the left, this 1363, my port, to this FTP port of that address. Okay. Now, so why? Anyone know why these ports are weird? I wonder if you can see it on the other traffic. Well, the way it works, this FTP is the port. Anyone know what port that is? 20 and 21, depending on which one's the data, which one's the signaling port. But that's the destination port. It's like when I surf the internet, when I go to Google, what port am I connecting out on? 80. I'm connecting to Google on 80. Does it leave me on 80? No. Let's open up Google here. Okay, right there it is. Okay, let's go back here. And let's go back here. We should see a connection to Google. Well, it's on HTTPS because I'm logged in. Okay, I'm actually logged into my Google account is why. But you see there's a lot of connections over here to HTTPS, which is to Google. But the ports over here, see all these ports? They're not 80. Now, port 80 is the web, port 443 is SSL. That's why HTTP is 443. If I was not signed into my Google account, I would have just been on port 80. Actually, let's go to, what's a website that doesn't require login? Let's try Zombo.com. Yes. If you've never been there, you need to go there. It's awesome. Here, we'll play for you.
Welcome.
Zombo.com.
This is Zombo.com.
It's a total waste of time website. Because I'm like, you can do anything at Zombo.com. All right, come on. Make a connection. It should be showing a connection to port 80 here in a second. No? Maybe not. There's no way Zombo.com's secure. Do I still have... No, eBay's closed, or Google's closed. I'm connected to someone still securely. Ah, there it is. The bottom ones. Okay. So this bottom one here, well, why is it just showing host? I don't know. Well, this is HTTP, that's port 80. I have no idea why it just shows host. That's weird. But the outbound port is what I connect out on, and I connect to a specific port on the other end. Port 80, port 443, port FTP, which is port 20, or so on and so forth. So, if you're ever one of your machines doing something, type Netstat. And it'll tell you what the connections are. I used to take care of Sergeant Grit Marine Specialties, his network. And we found out that whenever you installed Yahoo Messenger, does anyone use that anymore? Probably not. If you installed Yahoo Messenger, it automatically installed a file server in your machine and opened the firewall. Because I looked at them and I go, why are we getting all this traffic? Well, the reason it did that was whenever you transferred files to it, it had an active connection from Yahoo to your machine. That's not a good thing to have. So I started looking at this traffic. I'm like, why do we have all this traffic set up? And that's what it was. Yahoo Messenger automatically installed the file server, which was not a good plan. So I ended up going and removing it and stuff like that. So it's kind of weird. Okay. And you can watch this. See,
This is Zumblecom.
see it goes on. It's a pretty awesome website. Can't believe you guys have never seen that before. Okay, but at the very end you can buy a T-shirt. Goes on for like 10 minutes or something. But, okay, so that's kind of what an active connection. Kind of important. If you're ever wondering what your machine's doing, like I have a Mac at home and I use Carbonite. Some of you might know what Carbonite is. Unlimited backups for like $54 a year. It's pretty cheap. But my machine was running slow, and I was able to look at processes, and Carbonite was hanging up. Okay, but you can very easily go look and see what the heck the connections you got open, and figure out what are they. Now you probably have stuff like 53. What that would be? DNS. You might make a lot of DNS requests. I mean, you need to look at the traffic. Don't just assume that it's bad. And if you're on a domain, now did I close out those other ones already? Oh, I think I left the FTP up. Well, bye, exit. Okay, let me run it again here real quick. So there should be less now. Now I got nothing running yet, I still have connections. Then what the heck? Well, part of it's because I'm on a domain. Okay, and Microsoft DS is directory services. So I have a connection to the Microsoft Active Directory network. Will make sense because I'm on a Microsoft domain. So don't just freak out. And Phoebe, I can't remember that's one of the machines here at Rose State as well. I don't know what they are. But you might see some traffic that is required, okay? So don't just immediately, back when I lived on Tinker there for a while, my neighbor used to always come see me with computer problems. He came to me one day and said, computer's dead. What do you mean dead? Because turn on, it's dead. What'd you do? Nothing. So I went over there and literally was dead. It wouldn't boot up at all. I said, okay, there had to be something to use. Well, I was getting rid of some files I didn't need. And I looked in the root of my C drive, and there's all these files I didn't need, so I deleted them. Bad idea. Some of those are Windows system files. The boot INI, the NT loader, and the kernel files. So don't just assume because something's there it's necessarily bad. That guy learned how to install a machine, so it's kind of handy for him. Okay, so that's what active connections are. Okay, sometimes we talk, with going nowadays with our networks, do we think we actually need static routes anymore? Very, very few. Most things are all dynamic. Our routers handle our routing tables. So why, like they're saying, do you really need a direct route to the printer? A direct route, if you can remember the olden days when we actually had home phones. Does anyone still have a home phone?
Mm-hmm. No, well,
It's like half of you? Seriously?
Yeah.
You just like spending money.
I just got a home phone for my
Security.
kids.
IT school, right?
Security.
Technical one.
My security goes through cellular.
Really?
Required.
Oh, well, okay, I can see yours.
One hard one.
Yeah, my alarm system is
Mine's
actually
actually-
through the internet and then has the cellular backup.
Yeah, mine's a wireless.
Yeah.
It's off of a cell phone antenna for.
Don't you have to have
for my kids.
a landline for your security?
No, not at all. No, not the halfway new security systems. You're, I mean,
You do for Uverse.
oh, okay.
Most
Well,
of
you
the
also
stuff's
need it
set
for, I
up
think,
now.
DirectPC, you need one too.
You did.
Okay, but
You did get it
nowadays,
for,
well, back then when you had a real phone, some of you was still current.
3 years ago.
Some of y'all's current technologies. When you pick up that phone, I picked up that phone and called my grandma. Well, I used to. I remember calling her when we had the tornado that hit Tinker. I lived on base. I lived right by the gate that got wiped out. It was awesome because I'm sitting in my backyard. So we had this weird closet on our house. Right in the middle of the living room, there was a closet. Like, what the heck is this closet? Well, it's concrete on all sides. Great place to jump into, which we did. Didn't realize that time that I had all the bowling balls stored on the shelf. Probably would have been a bad thing. Could just see them falling, but they didn't have. But so we opened the back window because there's tornado, and literally the trash is swirling in my backyard. I'm like, this is cool. And we jumped in the closet, but tried to call my grandma afterwards. And you get that all connections are busy. All no circuits now, whatever. It's because you're trying to make a direct connection to whoever you're calling. It doesn't happen as much anymore because even with landlines now, they still have circuit switching built into them. But back then, now it's no longer circuit switching. Now it's even a landline still has some switching involved. But back then, it was if I called my grandma, between me and her, we're the only ones on that one line, and it didn't change until I hung up. So it has changed a lot now, but you really don't need a direct route to anything anymore. When I first started going to school in mid-90s, I took some classes at Rose State, but I enrolled for Tinker. that actually had a dedicated connection from Tinker to Rose State. I don't know what that cost back then, but it had to be a pretty penny to have a direct dedicated line from Tinker Education Office to Rose State. Nowadays, we just get internet and have a VPN. Anyone use VPN here? You probably do. Yeah, I use VPN. Whenever I need to get into my Rose network, like get to a file server or something, I just connect to the VPN and I'm in. Okay, much cheaper because it goes to my normal unsecured network. And you know, if you ever want to surf the internet at an airport or something, without everyone listening in on it, connect to a VPN and surf the internet. That's all encrypted at that point. So, pretty good way of doing it. Okay, but nowadays you really don't need direct routes anymore because it figures out how to get there. Our routers have different routing protocols, RIP, OSPF, or whatever, version 2, and those figure out how to get where it needs to go. They all have routing tables built in. Like RIP, for instance, Routing Information Protocol, version 2 is the current one. Every 30 seconds, it broadcasts to every other router what it knows about. It's like, hey, I know where Jim is, and I know where Deborah is, and so on. So it tells all the other routers what it knows about. Then they pick it, and it's actually a very noisy protocol because it does that. But it does work. So an OSPF, Open Source Path First, is a little better. It only updates the changes. But nowadays, you really don't have to tell it how to get there. It's like, you know, if I was telling you to come to my house, I mean, does anyone actually have to give out directions? Now you just give out the address, is that right? And then someone finds it on Google. Remember the days when we actually had to tell someone, okay, go 4.2 miles, take a right, get out to the...
I have to give directions because you punch my address in and it'll take you to across the street.
Well, you know, that's the funny thing about GPS. They can get you across the entire country, but then they're on the wrong side of the street. It's like, how? And one issue with mine is, my house between Choctaw Road and Tree Line Drive is exactly 300 feet. My address is directly in the center between Choctaw Road and Tree Line Drive. So depending on the GPS you use, GPS is normally go by GPS coordinates. So even if you put in an address, it still routes to a coordinate. Half the time, I'd say half of the systems has you stop on Choctaw Road instead of Tree Line Drive because it's right in the center. I went into Telstar, I think that's one of the big GPS providers, and updated it. But they're like, we only send out updates every other year or something like that. I'm like, what? So, I don't know if they'll ever fix it. But okay. So routing tables, they can change those. Can you imagine if someone was to go into the routing table and change it? Okay? That could cause a big issue because you as the user, would you even know about it? Okay? I think I showed you all the host file in here. I know I did. Sure I did. I could go into your host file and edit it because that's the second place it checks. It checks cache first. I could edit it there and say, you know what, Google's over there instead of here. And you're going to get whatever. So they could go in there and edit it. They could cause all kinds of problems with it. Okay. They can edit with two different methods. They can delete routes. What if on that, when I did for the Myriad and the Cox Center, we added that static route to get to the main Philadelphia place? What if someone deleted that or changed that? They wouldn't have known. I mean, obviously, they either couldn't get there. What if it was routed to a different location? That would be bad. I mean, since it was all the financial data, somebody got into the router, modified it, and sold it to go somewhere else. Okay? So they could change it at the router, could change it on the PC. There's actually some viruses and malware out there that will edit your host file, and what they do is they wait till you go to a certain bank or something that they know about. Then they add an entry in your host file for your bank to go to this alternate IP address. So that's why like SpyBot and some of those actually edits your host file for you and puts in stuff to block bad sites and stuff like that. So, all right, and this is kind of what he's talking about there. You're trying to go one place, but it's routing you somewhere else. Okay, ARP attacks. Okay, so you all know how ARP works now. It's IP address to MAC address. Because internally, when I want to talk from here to my computer in my office, we talk via MAC address. Okay, and that's what ARP stands for. ARP Address Resolution Protocol. If it's missing, it sends out a broadcast. That's why if you looked at the traffic, there was a lot of ARP requests. It said, who is 10. Blah, blah, whatever. Because it didn't know. It's like, hey, I never heard of this guy. Who is he? So it sends out the broadcast, and then whoever knows about it responds. But what if it's sending the wrong information? There's an ARP table there. We've looked at one before. So, okay. And there's our request. Again, hopefully you guys are all really sufficient at this. All right, ARP attacks is computers with IP address that matches replies. So just like that attack I did, the IP didn't change, yet the place you went through did change. So because I told a different person to answer. Okay, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Okay, there's a tool Hunt. I actually was looking at it. It's only Unix based, so I didn't have it up and running today. But I did find it where you can get it. It's actually a little bit hard to find. You can do the same kind of thing as with Kane. If you don't know what Kane is, let me show you real quick. I'm not going to install it or anything. Just going to show you where to get it from. It's oxid.it. Okay. If you were to go there, and you can go projects, and you could go to Kane right here. And here's the latest. When's the latest update? It's actually not too recent, but does it say the date? No, it doesn't say the date. But amazing tool. All the stuff it can do. It can everything from password breaking to ARP attacks to just tons of, and it's free. And you know it's a bad tool because when you minimize it, it appears as a blank icon on your taskbar, so no one could see what it is. But in forensics, that's what I made the quick little MP3 recording with. So if you have an IP phone, bring up Kane, automatically captures all your IP traffic, your voice over IP traffic. So it's handy if you want to capture phone calls. It's very nice. Bring up Kane, make a phone call, records everything, so inbound and outbound. So kind of nice. But yeah, it's Kane. Do not install it on your work machine. Not a good thing. Okay. Not a good thing. Okay, so but Hunt's another one like that. Does sniffing, does hijacking, it does a lot of issues there. Okay, also allows you to synchronize the connections. And yeah, Kane does the same thing as well. You can literally, when you set up like a man-in-the-middle attack like I did for your homework, if that machine happened to be going to Facebook or anywhere at that time, it would instantly be dumping all the passwords out. The ones that were decrypted passwords. Like when I logged into the FTP site, they would have showed up. That's what's kind of scary because some of these websites out there don't require you to log in. Like the site, whatever, the virtual lab that we have upstairs. Is that? No, that is using HTTPS because it comes up with a certificate error. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that one is encrypted. At one point, it wasn't encrypted. But if it's a non-encrypted website, it's just going to download it. And there's also other ones called Firesheep. Y'all heard of Firesheep? Just downloads all the Facebook passwords. There's just tons of tools out there.
Ettercap?
Yeah, Ettercap will do it as well. Yeah, Ettercap is very similar. So I haven't played with Hunt before, so I looked it up today. It is available out there. It's just not as popular. Ettercap's a lot better than that. So, all right, UDP. UDP is a connection list protocol, user datagram protocol, like it says there. They don't care if it really makes it there or not. It's kind of like streaming video. Do you really think Netflix is gonna stop and go back and send you the one packet you missed 5 minutes ago? No, they're just going to keep sending it to you. And yeah, you might get a little fuzzy screen there for a second, but they're not going to do it. And it used to be in the past a lot more when UDP. It used to be all printing was done via UDP, but nowadays TCP is just as fast. You know, because our network cards are super fast now. Heck, I went to buy a switch the other day. The only switch I had was a gigabit switch. That's it. I mean, that was everything's gigabit now. So at Philip Neri, the Catholic school, one little row of computers has a 8-port gigabit switch. I'm like, seriously? That's faster than the main switch in the building. But, you know, it's funny. But UDP, it really doesn't care if it gets there or not. So hackers just start sending a bunch of packets, and it's going to accept it. Once a connection is made, you can inject whatever the heck you feel like in there. Okay? All right. More. It says hacker needs only to sniff the network for a UDP request. Wait for someone to request, kind of like that ARP request. Wait for you hear a request and just start sending you data. It's going to go. So, scary stuff. Okay. Prevention, use encryption. And practice storm watching. Oh, I had to set for this. Okay. Encryption. Teach an entire class on this. Encryption is the way to go. I mean, if there's anything of importance, it should be encrypted. That's all there is to it. But a lot of things like POP3 is not encrypted. Okay? Telnet's not encrypted. IMAP not necessarily encrypted. SMTP. There's a lot of stuff that's non-encrypted. So really watch what you do. And that's what's nice about having like Gmail and stuff like that, because that is encrypted. It does support encryption. Okay. All right. There's POP3. You know, there are encrypted versions of all these things. It just hasn't been implemented. I tell them. Okay. You can use SSH instead, but you know, not everybody does. Okay. Here they're talking about public and private keys. We have a whole class on that, so I'm not going to cover it now. Okay. I added this in here because it gets. We have a person here on campus, well, a student, who, well, basically he does storm watching, storm chasing. I asked him, I said, where did you go to school for this? Oh, I didn't. What? Because, dude, I just watched the video on YouTube. And he literally has a weather website with hundreds, which luckily it's not thousands, but hundreds of people that subscribe to his website where he keeps sending out all this weather update. I'm like, you have no training at all in this. And literally, I said, how did you learn to do that? Oh, I just watched a video on YouTube. You have no schooling in this at all. Oh, not a single class of meteorology, not even one. I'm like, wow, it's scary. Okay, I just have an issue with that. Okay.
A lot of doctors like that too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, I do a lot of stuff by watching YouTube. But I'm not going to run a business and sell my product to people that all I did was watch them off YouTube. I'm like, seriously? Because I actually asked this person a question about a certain type of crowds. He goes, oh, I don't know what kind those are. Okay, you're a storm watcher. You don't know what this cloud is. Then that's when I asked him. So where do you learn meteorology? Oh, I just watched the YouTube video. Wow.
How does he know where a tornado's going to come? He's going to get sucked up one
He
day.
looked at website. He probably goes to News Channel 4. Ooh, Channel 4 says it's over here. Let me run
It's
over.
going to be like that news team on the Twister, on the movie Twister.
Oh, yes. But the reason I got that was the storm watching. Okay. Says refers to an IDS. Basically like Snort or something like that, where it just watches traffic. Looks for a bunch of something. Like if you guys were, you know, the assignment you did, if you were capturing traffic and all of a sudden saw a million pings or something going on, that's kind of like, hey, there's something happening on the network. What's different? And a lot of times you make things called baselines. You capture traffic for a while. Like when I ran my ISP at home, I configured my routers like all my friends that ran ISPs did, and I thought it was stupid. But they were experienced people, so I did it like they did, and I wanted to modify mine, which I ended up doing. But I made a baseline. First of all, I captured traffic intermittently for a week or so to see what the traffic was, so I knew what to expect when I reconfigured. And I did good, because when I reconfigured my whole system, the way they had it set up was accept everything but block the bad stuff. The default was accept. If you didn't know what it was, you accepted it. Is that good? Can you imagine that? The new TSA at the airport. Okay, everybody can come through except these 5 people's name we got on the list. Well, if you're a brand new bad guy, that's not a good plan. But that's the way they ran their ISP. Because I asked them, I said, why? This is not a good... What happens if there's something new? They're like, well, we don't know what's out there. So we have to allow it. We have to let our clients have everything. I'm like, no, that's really a bad idea. So I redid my whole thing. And it was, you know, I said I captured traffic for a while to see what the traffic was. And I missed one thing. Bill Richards, he used to teach our Unix Linux. He works at Dyson now. He used to host a server at my location. And he called me, he's like, Ken, you did something to the traffic over me. Yeah, he goes, man, my amount of hits on my network maliciously are like 0. So I don't know what you did, but I love it. But he goes, but I can no longer connect in with my VPN. I'm like, oh, you've been out of town for a week. He goes, yeah. He says, yeah, you haven't used your VPN in a week, and so I didn't see the traffic to know what to put in my allow tables. So I went in and added his in there. So I swapped mine to allow this good stuff and block everything else. Now I did it right before the SQL Slammer worm came out. It's quite a few years ago now. I did it just before that, because that worm hit. And both of my friends that ran 2 different ISPs called me, Ken, did you get hit? I'm like, no. I'm like, you didn't? Brand new virus. It hit SQL servers. I'm like, it took us both down. I'm like, took down their dial-in services and everything. I'm like, I didn't get hit. I'm like, how did you possibly not get hit? Because I switched mine. I only allow good stuff in and I block everything else. And that was a brand new virus. Had never gone across on the SQL port before. So they let it through. No, that wasn't good traffic, so I didn't let it through. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. You're looking at the traffic, looking for stuff out of the norm, look at massive packet count. Yeah. A while back I was installing, what's it called? It wasn't IIS. It used to call proxy server for Microsoft, and it's ISA, Internet Security Administration Server. I installed that for the upstairs lab. And then I looked at the tables, and over the weekend I had all this traffic. I'm like, what the heck is going on a weekend? I was freaking out. Someone was breaking into our network. What it was, Bill Richards at CNCI used to teach for us. And he did a lot of the SETI at home stuff. You don't know what that is? Look for aliens, I guess. Well, he asked me, which I totally forgot about. He goes, hey, can I install this in the lab? And he said it where if the machines are in use at all, it wouldn't run. But if the machines were not in use, oh yeah, fine. Didn't even think about it. Months later, when I put on ISA server, I'm like, what is it? That's what it was. It was all this traffic doing SETI at home stuff on weekends when no one was using the machines. So I really didn't care, but it was just funny because it was out of the norm, kind of like here. All of a sudden you're looking at traffic and see all kinds of stuff. Okay? All right, that's the end of this chapter. Homework. Y'all see the homework up there? No one saw the assignment up there? It's blank. I'm not giving you homework this chapter.
Oh, really?
Aren't you excited?
Yes.
You get a week with no homework.
Holy cow.
I was going to make one. I said, this is kind of what you did in the last assignment. I said, no homework this time. So I put it up there, but it's blank. Just wait and see how many people call me about it. Stalking's due next week. Well, I would appreciate, it is next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would appreciate you to send me what you have. So I can mute. Now, you know what? I just thought of something. I did not figure out how we're going to do with the people that aren't here. Tell you what, let me move it back a week. Will that kill anybody? If I give you an extra week, wouldn't kill anybody. So I can come up with a plan on what, because we're not going to be able to present it because half the class isn't here. So I might just have you turn it in, and I'll look at it, and then if I see something I want you all to see, I'll show it to you. I think you guys would probably appreciate that anyway.
Do you want like a PowerPoint?
I would like a PowerPoint. That's all I really need. Just give me a PowerPoint. What I want to see on there is, okay, we'll use you for an example. I'm trying to find him. So I checked the court records. I found nothing. But include that. I looked at the court records. There's nothing. I checked this. I found nothing. Tell me what you did. Don't just tell me I found 5 things. Tell me, yeah, I found 5 things, but I checked 30 things. I want you to put some effort into this. And yeah, if you can't find nothing, okay. Just tell me at least what you did. But if you tell me, I went to Google and typed in Kindu, you got nothing. That's not a good answer. Okay, just tell me where you went, what you found. If you found something, great. If not,
I used Google, I used Yahoo, I
and
used
Bing.
Bing.
But yeah, there's a lot of different places you can go, and I'll figure out some way of. Maybe I'll highlight some of them, give them extra credit if they went above and beyond or something. I'll come with that. So I'll give you an extra week on that, but only for the people that listen to this recording. So I'm not going to change the date on the website. I think good. I changed it the very last second. So everybody's going to submit it except for the people who listen to the recording. So I like.
Find out PowerPoint?
I would like just a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Just put again what you found. First of all, who you think it is, and then what you didn't find. That's a lot of times what you didn't find is better, because maybe you used a website that Andrew had never even heard of.
Bonus points if we know who's looking at us.
No, because some of you that's darn obvious. I mean, some of you do social engineering like a rock. It's based.
You
I
don't
mean.
have to follow anybody because I am not following anybody.
Okay. All right. So, okay, you're free to go. And I'm going to move it to the 17th, but I'm not going to update the recording to the last second.